In the blinding white silence of a snowstorm, the world can feel like it's ending. That was exactly what Ethan Hale thought the moment he saw the lone woman in a torn lace wedding dress, sitting helplessly in a wheelchair in the middle of a frozen road, shivering violently as the cold swallowed her tears. For a second, he wondered if she was even real or just another cruel mirage created by exhaustion and winter. But Duke, his loyal German shepherd, barked with sharp urgency, sprinting ahead toward her, forcing Ethan to snap out of his shock as he jumped out of his old blue truck. That was the first instant Ethan realized he wasn't witnessing a tragedy, he was running straight into one. If you believe in kindness, miracles, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe right now. It truly motivates us to create more stories like this. Ethan was a single father fighting battles the world never saw. His life revolved around his 6-year-old son Noah and Duke, the only companions who carried him through nights when grief and responsibility felt heavier than the snow around him. Losing his wife 2 years earlier had hollowed him, and ever since, he had been doing everything alone, working long hours delivering firewood, keeping their little cabin warm, and pretending he had enough strength for all three of them. He never imagined his already difficult life was about to collide with a mystery that would test the limits of his compassion and change everything he thought he knew about fate. The woman in the wheelchair looked fragile, broken, and terrified, her breathing shallow, her skin ghost pale against the harsh winter landscape. Her wedding dress was soaked and torn, as if she had clawed her way through a nightmare. Ethan could see she had been crying for a long time, and each tear seemed to freeze before it even reached her chin. Without a second thought, he scooped her up gently, feeling the trembling desperation in her body, and carried her carefully into the warmth of his truck while Duke guarded the door like a soldier on duty. He didn't know her story yet, didn't know why her bride's dress was smeared with dirt or why she looked like she had been abandoned in the middle of nowhere, but he knew one thing: she needed help, and he wasn't the type of man to walk away from someone fighting for their last breath. Back at his cabin, Ethan wrapped her in blankets, lit the fireplace, and offered her water with trembling hands. As the heat slowly returned to her body, she watched him with a mixture of fear and disbelief, as if she had expected anyone else but a kind stranger. Her wheelchair had been bent and damaged, the wheels twisted as if someone had pushed it roughly over rocks or worse. When she finally gathered strength to whisper her name, Rose, Ethan felt a strange weight settle in the air, one that hinted at a story deeper than simple misfortune. Over the next hours, as the storm raged outside, Ethan tended to her silently, never pressing for details. Rose, however, observed him closely, the gentle way he reassured Noah, the firmness in his voice when he told Duke to guard her door, the quiet strength of a man who had been hurt but still chose kindness. Slowly, she revealed fragments of her truth. She had been a bride, but not a loved one. Her marriage had been arranged, forced, and tainted with manipulation. The man she was meant to marry saw her wheelchair as a burden and her inheritance as a ticket to power. When she refused to sign over control of her assets, his anger turned dangerous. She fled before the ceremony, but his men chased her. She had no one to turn to, nowhere safe to go, until Ethan found her in the snow. Ethan listened without judgment, but inside his heart ached for her. He understood what fear felt like, what helplessness tasted like. He had lived through his own losses, fought through his own storms. Seeing Rose fight to stay alive awakened a part of him he thought had died with his wife, the instinct to protect, to heal, to hope again. Over the next week, Rose stayed with them as the storm sealed the cabin from the outside world. During that time, something quietly beautiful grew between them. She found comfort in Ethan's gentle routines, in Noah's innocent laughter, and in Duke's unwavering loyalty. Ethan, in turn, found himself watching her with a tenderness he didn't recognize at first. Her courage, her resilience, the way she smiled despite the pain, she began to melt the ice around his heart. But he never acted on it. He believed he wasn't allowed to feel anything for anyone ever again. He believed his job was only to help her find safety, not to open doors he thought were forever closed. Then everything changed the day a black SUV appeared at the end of the snowy road. Ethan's gut tightened. He recognized trouble instantly. Rose's face turned pale, and Duke began growling in deep warning. The men who stepped out were dressed in expensive coats, cold determination in their eyes. They demanded Rose come with them, claiming they represented her family, but the fear on her face told Ethan the truth: they were the same men who chased her before. For the first time in years, Ethan felt something powerful surge inside him, the fierce need to protect someone he cared about. He stepped between Rose and the men, Duke standing at his side, teeth bared. The confrontation was tense, breathless, and dangerous, but Ethan didn't move. Something in his eyes warned them he was willing to fight with everything he had. The men finally backed away, leaving a threat behind but no harm done. Rose broke into tears, not of fear, but of relief. That single moment became the turning point of their story. When the authorities eventually intervened, the shocking truth surfaced: Rose wasn't just any bride. She was the sole heiress of a massive family empire, worth more than she ever revealed. But she didn't care about any of that. What mattered to her was Ethan, the man who saw her as a person, not a possession. The man who protected her without knowing anything about her wealth. The man who treated her with humanity when she had almost given up on all of it.